Hi, most of you will have already seen the video where I introduce myself and give a profile of myself. You can go check that video out. But in this video, what I want to speak to you guys about is reply speeches. So the first thing I'm going to do then is tell you what a reply speech is. Then I'm going to tell you how people do reply speeches badly. And then we're going to go over some helpful hints over how to do reply speeches properly and what that means and requires. So, firstly, a reply speech are the last two speeches on each side. They are given by either the first or second speaker. The third speaker can't give a reply speech. And basically, what this speech is supposed to do is it's supposed to surmise the debate and put the debate in perspective for the adjudicators. So the idea of putting the debate in perspective for adjudicators is particularly important because, as you'll see when I speak about doing them properly, what a reply speech is about showing the adjudicators how the debate flowed and how it is that your team came on top. It is not about doing rebuttals or giving you ideas in that speech. It's simply a reflection on the debate and giving your own perspective in terms of how that debate should be considered. So some of the mistakes that people make when doing reply speeches is, like, particularly importantly, they firstly, some people do rebuttals and reply speeches. Again, like I just said, reply speeches are not where you do rebuttals. Or the rebuttals should have been given in your thirds. Nothing new over and above rebuttals should have been given in your third. In fact, the matter in your third speech should clash in such a way that it's on the same issues and that there's no need to do rebuttal, that you can simply pick ideas from what's already been said to show why it is that even in light of the stuff that's been said by the other team in the first, second, or third speech, it is that your matter still stands. So primarily, that's what a reply speech is not. So it's not a last ditch opportunity for you to give new rebuttals. A reply speech then is not a shopping list of what's happened. See, it's pretty easy for you to say that these arguments are made, these arguments are made, these arguments are made, these arguments are made, but that's not what a reply speech is. Essentially, what you're doing then is you're not giving them a perspective on how to view the debate, but rather what you're doing is that you're just giving them a blanket shopping list of how the debate went, and that's not good either. So, in a reply speech, it's not merely about just listing the arguments that were made by either side for the adjudicators. In fact, a good reply speech might not even mention everything that was said by the reply speech or by each side in the debate. So remember that a reply speech also is very short. You're asked to summarize 6 8 minute speeches in 2 minutes to show why it is that your side won. So it's simply not possible for you to say everything that everyone said. In fact, it's not strategically good for you to just go ahead and say everything that everyone said. So what then should you do when you do a reply speech? So primarily what you need to do when you do a reply speech, right, is you need to have a good idea of what it is that the teams disagree on, right? So the teams will disagree on fundamental issues. Yes, there'll be lots of arguments, or there may have been lots of arguments made under individual issues, but the fact of the matter is the disagreements can be narrowed down in the team to being a clash between this idea and this idea, and this idea and that idea. So essentially, what you then need to do in a reply speech is you need to have a good sense of what the teams are disagreeing on and what a good sense of what the big idea is in as far as that debate is concerned. What you then need to do is you need to be able to track while within the debate what people are saying on either side. So you may, in some debates, be able to identify beforehand. In fact, like if you can, that's strategically good to determine beforehand what the big ideas in the debate are that the teams will disagree about. But if you can't do that, you should be able to pick it up from the debate, whether the teams are disagreeing on a fundamentally principled issue as to whether something is right or wrong, whether they're disagreeing on a pragmatic issue. So the question of whether something is possible and whether it is that it would have the intended outcomes, or if it might have negative outcomes that might be more detrimental. So it's important to be able to track down what the disagreement is. And then what you need to do is you need to separate those issues or different big ideas. So what you do essentially then in a reply speech is you say, this is the first idea that this is the first idea that this debate is about. So primarily then, opposition will have said this around this issue, and we said this around this issue. But if you tracked how the debate happened, then you realize that the stuff that they were saying was unpersuasive in as far as firstly disproving the things that we tell you, but secondly in establishing the things that they tell you. So that may be the reason, because the rebuttals that they gave to your arguments weren't persuasive enough, or didn't do enough in terms of the arguments that you guys had laid down. It may be that the rebuttals that they made were weak, and you guys later went on to prove how weak their rebuttals are. Even where you guys may have lost an issue or lost an argument, you may explain that even though that argument was proved to be like less relevant in that debate, you guys are still winning in terms of the main idea, because the big ideas that you guys provided are still standing. This isn't a rebuttal, but what this is then is controlling how it is that the judges look at that idea. So it's as if you yourself are giving judgment in as far as that issue is concerned, right? And then you say that this is the next thing that we disagreed on. So remember, it's important that you're identifying things that teams disagree on, because debates are inherently about the things that teams disagree on and clash on, and the big ideas. So they aren't about you making your own shopping list of arguments on one side and the other team making their own shopping list of arguments on the other side. They're about the way in which those arguments come together and play out to form a debate. Otherwise, you're just doing public speaking if all teams are simply just making shopping list on either side. So then, big ideas. Find out firstly what the big idea is that you guys are clashing on. Find out secondly what you guys are saying on your side of those big ideas and what they're saying. Factor in the responses that they've made to try and make up a holistic reply speech. So you would move on to first issue, second issue. And then what you do then at the end of your reply speech is you say that because in terms of the first thing that the first big issue in this debate, or what's the main place of disagreement, because we win and we're most persuasive in as far as this issue, we win the debate. But because we win the second issue, we also win the debate. Like we also win because of these arguments, we win that issue, and therefore we win the entire debate. Feel free to add in the comments section any questions that you may have as far as reply speeches, and I will then factor my answers in as far as that's concerned.